We didn't suffer. I know how them kids suffer. And people don't understand that I was on death row, finna get a needle in my arm.
Boosie Badazz has been battling the system for years, and the fight is nowhere close to slowing down. The Baton Rouge icon has already served his share of time behind bars. Old jail footage showed him looking drained, broken, and carrying the weight of it all on his shoulders. But now, he's right back in the hot seat, facing federal heat while waiting to learn his fate. Fans swear the system's got it out for him personally. They point out how new charges keep stacking up even after he's paid his dues. And honestly, when you look at the facts laid out, it's hard to argue otherwise. So let's run it back, from the block to the courtroom. When word spread that Boosie, one of the rawest voices to ever rap about survival, had taken a federal plea that could lock him away for 2 years, the hood felt that pain heavy. What's wild is how it all kicked off on what seemed like just another grind day. On May 6, 2023, Boosie was in San Diego filming a music video and prepping to hit the Phantom Lounge in the Gaslamp Quarter. For him, it was business as usual, grind, hustle, and make sure his 9 kids stayed good. But while he was locked in on the music, both the streets and the feds were locked in on him. That same day, San Diego police tuned into an IG Live from a local figure, and in the background, they spotted Boosie with a handgun tucked in his waistband. Just like that, one regular day flipped into a headline that could change everything. The way law enforcement moved down on him felt like something out of a Hollywood film. A helicopter circled overhead, tailing the black Mercedes SUV he was riding in. Then out of nowhere, boom, cops pulled him over, claiming he ran a red light. But this wasn't just about traffic. This was a full-on takedown. Once they searched the ride, things got ugly quick. Officers claimed they uncovered not one but 2 loaded straps, a Glock and an FN Her-style Hellcat. Boosie tried to hold it down, saying one belonged to his security. But prosecutors weren't hearing it. They came with their own version of the story, and it carried way heavier consequences. That's when the feds dropped the real hammer. They allege Boosie bought both weapons in Georgia, then hopped on a Delta flight to San Diego the same day with a gun stashed in his bag. And with that, they had the one phrase they needed, interstate commerce. Once that angle came into play, the whole thing escalated into a federal case overnight. At first, it looked like a state-level issue. The San Diego DA charged him with possession of a firearm by a prohibited person, concealed carry in a vehicle, illegal ammo, and an unregistered strap. His legal team felt confident, even hinting probation was likely with no prison time. But then June 14th, 2023 hit, and the tables flipped. The state dropped the charges, and Boosie probably thought he was walking free. Instead, the second he stepped out of court, federal agents were waiting to cuff him again, this time on the felon in possession charge. Boosie's legal team wasted no time clapping back. His attorney, Megan Blanco, went straight at the feds.
State case was dropped, and out of nowhere, the feds picked it up.
Now it was a state case.
Blasting them for violating their own petite policy, a rule that says you can't prosecute someone twice for the same thing. Another lawyer, Damon E.T., stood beside her, arguing that Boosie's loud and unfiltered voice on social media, always calling out the justice system, painted a massive target on his back. From day one, it was clear this case wasn't really about guns. It was about silencing a man who refused to stay quiet. Prosecutors, though, leaned hard on Boosie's past to keep the case alive. They dug up a marijuana conviction from way back in 2011, labeling him a prohibited person under federal law, meaning he wasn't allowed to touch a firearm. Now think about that. An over a decade-old weed case, something that isn't even illegal in half the country anymore, was twisted into the reason Boosie could face up to 15 years behind bars. 15 years, all because of a blunt from past. That's how far they were willing to stretch the law. The judge originally set his bond at $100,000, but this wasn't county court where money could get you out quick. This was federal court, where the stakes are higher, the rules are harsher, and the system doesn't play fair. But then came the plot twist nobody saw coming. In July 2024, U.S. District Judge Kathy and Bencho dismissed the entire federal gun case. She leaned on a Ninth Circuit ruling, U.S. versus Duarte, which said banning nonviolent felons from owning firearms violated the Second Amendment.
They had a ruling in the Supreme Court that went in my favor, and the case got dropped by the judge.
That ruling was a lifeline Boosie had been praying for, and it just might have saved him from losing it all. The scene outside the courthouse looked like straight-up pandemonium, but in the best way possible. Boosie broke down in front of cameras, choking up as he told reporters, 90% of people thought I was going to prison, but God had a different plan. That line hit like a gut punch. You could feel the weight lift off his shoulders in real time. And Boosie wasted 0 seconds celebrating. He tore off his ankle monitor, cannonballed into a pool at the Sikyun Casino Resort in San Diego, and let the world know he was free. Fans cheered like they were watching a blockbuster comeback. But just when it seemed like the movie had a happy ending, the sequel hit harder than anyone expected. Less than 2 weeks later, U.S. Attorney Tara McGraw's office doubled back with a brand new indictment. This time, Boosie was slapped with 2 fresh counts: felon in possession of a firearm in interstate commerce, and possession of a firearm while using controlled substances. And then came the dagger. The Ninth Circuit reversed the Duarte ruling, putting the federal gun ban for felons back in play. Boosie's taste of freedom snatched away in an instant. The new charges weren't just serious. They were stacked to crush him. The drug-related firearm count carried up to 10 years. The original felon in possession charge carried 15. That's 25 years staring him down. Furious, Boosie lit up social media, blasting the case as pure prosecutor overreach and flat-out racism. He wasn't about to let the system bury him without a fight. And if you read between the lines, the government's message was clear. When they lock in on you, they'll use everything. Instagram lives, helicopters circling overhead, loopholes in the law, to drag you straight under the jail. To understand why Boosie finally copped a plea in 2025, you've got to rewind through his long war with the system. His battles didn't start here. They started on West Garfield Street in Baton Rouge. Boosie was fighting demons most kids couldn't even picture. Kicked out of McKinley High for drug activity, catching charges before he could even buy a drink. By 2009, he was already serving a 4-year stretch on guns and drugs. And then came the darkest twist. In 2010, while Boosie was behind bars, prosecutors hit him with a bombshell, charging him for the 2009 murder of Terry Boyd. Their story? Boosie allegedly paid 17-year-old Michael Marlowe Mike Louding $2,800 to pull the trigger. The accusation shook the rap game to its core, but the case was shaky from day one. Louding first pointed a finger, then flipped, saying cops threatened him with a death penalty if he didn't talk. That alone left the state scrambling. Still, prosecutors weren't letting go. They tried to twist Boosie's music into a confession, using tracks like 187 and Body Bag to paint him as a cold-blooded killer. The move set off outrage nationwide. Was rap just art or a smoking gun? It was a dangerous precedent, and the entire hip-hop world was on edge. But when the jury finally went back to deliberate, it didn't take long. 35 minutes later, the verdict was in Boosie not guilty of first-degree murder. It was one of the biggest sighs of relief the culture had ever seen. Even beating the murder rap didn't mean Boosie was out the woods.
How did that feel?
The best days of my life.
I mean, I got found guilty in 36 minutes, not guilty in 36 minutes.
While locked inside Angola, the walls closed and even tighter. He got hit with fresh charges for allegedly running a drug ring from behind bars, stretching his sentence even further. He wouldn't taste freedom until March 2014. Those years staring down death row left scars nobody could see. The mental toll was brutal. The financial wreckage was real. And it hardened the way Boosie approached every courtroom battle after. So when the Fed circled back in 2023, he already knew this fight wasn't just legal. It was life or death for his future. By August 2025, after 3 exhausting years of legal chess, cases dismissed, charges refiled, new counts stacked like bricks, the weight finally broke him. Boosie took to X and poured his heart out. Just accepted a plea from the federal government on my gun case. I thought this was over, but God don't make mistakes and I'm tired of fighting. Talked to my family and this is the right decision. You could feel the exhaustion in every word. His family, especially his mother, pushed him toward peace, reminding him that not every fight was meant to be won in court, and sometimes divine timing mattered more than pride. The plea deal was bittersweet. Instead of staring down a 15-year max, Boosie locked in 2 years behind bars with 3 years of supervised release. Prosecutors even dropped the fines, knowing his pockets weren't bottomless. This was the same man who once refused a 15-year plea on a murder case, but this time he chose strategy over stubbornness. Still, courtrooms weren't the only thing keeping his name in headlines. Boosie had been locked in a vicious feud with Charleston White, a man who mocked his diabetes, predicted he'd die in prison, and even begged the judge to bury him with a harsher sentence. Any other street figure might have handled White face-to-face, but Boosie kept his cool, knowing one reckless move could cost him everything. Then came the endless controversies that kept him trending. Boosie's unfiltered takes on LGBTQ+ issues put him under fire again and again. In 2020, he targeted Dwayne Wade's transgender daughter, Zaya. In 2021, he ranted against Lil Nas X. By 2024, he walked out of the color purple in protest. Every move sparked outrage. Critics labeled him hateful, businesses cut ties, and in 2025 Planet Fitness banned him nationwide. But nothing cut deeper than 2023, when his daughter Poison Ivy came out as lesbian. Instead of showing love, Boosie doubled down, saying her sexuality wasn't accepted in their Southern Baptist family. That decision left scars at home money and fame couldn't heal. And yet, through every storm, his fan base never left. In 2025, he dropped Words of a Real One, an album soaked in pain, scars, and raw truth. Fans connected instantly, proof that Boosie's music still hit nerve deep, no matter what courtroom battles shadowed him. But now, with November 21st, 2025 sentencing day approaching, the stakes are sky high. His attorney, Megan Blanco, is begging Judge Ben Seveno for mercy, citing Boosie's charity work and his role as a father of 9. Prosecutors, though, want the full 2 years served. But history already told us what prison means for Boosie. Nothing. Back in 2014, fresh off Angola's chains, he dropped Touchdown 2 Cause Hell and stormed Billboard at number 3. Lockup didn't crush him then, and it probably won't now. Whatever Judge Seveno decides in November, one thing is undeniable. Boosie Badass is proof that authenticity survives. From the project of Baton Rouge to the federal courtrooms of San Diego, he never switched up. The streets built him. The system tried to bury him. But he's still here. His story ain't just about one gun case. It's about a man who turned pain into profit, scars into songs, and stayed real even when the cost was everything. So hit that like button, subscribe, share with your people, and drop your thoughts in the comments. And I'll catch you on the next one.